What up, y'all? This your boy Rotimi, aka Dre from the hit show Power. Hip Hop Marvels is the movement. You know they got you locked from the block to the comic shop. Be sure to follow up Hip Hop Marvels on Twitter and Instagram at Hip Hop Marvels.
Yo, this is Trackstar the DJ, and I have not seen Endgame yet, so please don't spoil it. Right now I'm checking out Hip Hop Marvels podcast, available wherever dope podcasts are streamed.
We got it locked from your block to the comic shop.
Drop a 10 more, son. You know I got tools, infinite.
Fine. I'll do it myself.
You now on that wavelength, time to sign in. As Dub Floyd and Claudius chime in on topics of comics, brought to expand the hip-hop connect with a gauntlet in hand. They got it locked in, they floss in the brand. The block to the comic shop, they cross and examine. Representation's famine and moved on the shelf, and the system is happy with the movement it's dealt. We don't wait for the sick to improve on the health, so we pull a Thanos, fine, I'll do it myself. And it'll come out extra clean, fresh for the fans like an extended scene. With the hip-hop and comic dimension, they activate you with gems they presentin'. Hand in the gauntlet, yes, we gon' flaunt it. Hip-hop Marvels will bring you the rawness. Hip-hop Marvels will bring you the rawness.
Hey, this is Sanford Greene, artist on Marvel's Power Man and Iron Fist and co-creator of Bitterroot at Image Comics, and you're listening to Hip Hop Marvels.
We got it locked from your block to the comic shop.
Okay out there in Marveland, face front, this is Stan Lee speaking. You've probably never heard this before, so anything is liable to happen.
Yeah, I just wanted to make sure you guys connected. It was just, it was just meant to do an introduction, but it was so like natural that it's kind of dope just to have him on the interview.
Yeah, no, I agree. You know, I've heard inklings of people saying, yeah, if you want to know somebody that's into hip hop, Mike is definitely one of them. And I was like, well, yeah, I definitely want to reach out and have him on the podcast as well. So when you said, oh, you might get a 2-for-1. And I'm like, what? Totally surprised me. But yeah, that was a good way to break the ice and whatnot because, you know, like I said, I'm going to stay in touch. I told Eclipse as well, like I'm going to stay in touch, you know, to be able to just have that rapport back and forth. Maybe it's some things you guys can fill me in on and vice versa. Because I started out DJing. Well, I used to spit. I'm just giving you a little spill about myself. From Jersey City, New Jersey. Born and raised.
I was asked, did you know anyone that moved on and kept going? And
for sure, yeah. Joe Budden, I known him when I was, you know, around high school, just writing rhymes and stuff like that. And then eventually I cut a demo with a producer. He goes by the name of Yaheem, but he was a part of the hip hop crew, the Double X Posse. I don't know if you remember them. They had the song "Not Gonna Be Able to Do It."
Yep.
Yeah. Can you do it? I'm not gonna be able to do it. Yeah. So I cut a demo.
Okay.
And then long story short, my son was born, my firstborn. And I decided to go into the service. You know what I mean?
That would change a whole lot of things, that's for sure.
Oh yeah. It put a lot of things in perspective. I was like, you know, I can no longer run the streets like I did, and you know, so I you know, went to the military. Needless to say, I did a tour in Iraq. It was when I got back where I started DJing. I just hit the mixtape circuit heavy. I was doing mixtapes, and then I had this is around the time the Boondocks cartoon came out, and I had reached out. They heard some of my stuff, and I went on to do like the official mixtapes for.
Oh, that was you. Okay.
You said, "Oh, that was you." Yeah, DJ Dub Floyd. So
that's dope, man.
Yeah, that's one of my critically acclaimed mixtape series right there. I actually was nominated for an award for the second one, which was hosted by. The second one was hosted by Fonte, a little brother, and Sky Zoo.
Right.
And
Okay.
Yeah, and then the third one was hosted by David Banner and Killer Mike. So I've been in and out, like, dealing with, you know, the music industry and stuff like that.
Right.
And I just took my two loves and put them together. And, like, I was like, well, there needs to be, I was looking for a hub that can kind of push both out, you know, the love for Marvel and hip hop. And I was like, well, you know, I had a combo with one of my homies, one of my brothers, DJ Wally Sparks. And he was like, yeah, you should just combine them both, you know, because the plan was to just do two separate podcasts. It's like, well, it's enough similarities to combine them both. And I was like, you know what, you got a point, you know. So yeah, that's a little spill about myself, just so, you know, people know who's behind, you know, behind it. But you know, I wanna get into Bitter Root, man. So I'm loving this whole. I'm loving the rollout. I'm loving the art behind it. I'm loving the fact that it's based on the setting is in one of my favorite times, like the 1920s Harlem Renaissance. The fact that it's you know, it's unapologetically black. You know what I mean? I'm loving it all. So how and then not only, I mean, you're working with David Walker and Chuck Brown also. So like, how did this come about?
Man, see if I can make the long story longer. Nah, but about 2.5 years ago, I was with we were finishing up Power Man and Iron Fist, and when I say finishing up, we had about maybe 2 issues left, and we knew that we needed to figure out where we were going to go next, and the biggest part for us was we knew that Marvel was going in a different direction. Like, they just wanted a lot more mainstream. They wanted more mainstream characters, and we wanted to tell more stories similar to Power Man and Iron Fist. So, as a matter of fact, truth be told, we had a lot of stories left for Power Man and Iron Fist, and we didn't get to tell them. So we said, you know what? Let's see if we can take these ideas, put them into something, create our own. And we didn't know if we were going to go create our own right away or what, but we just said, you know what? These ideas are great, great, we think, and just kind of reformat some things here and there, and we could put something out that's original. So, long story short, Brown, he asked me one time, he was writing and started to do a lot of work at Dark Horse Comics and a few other places, and he was trying to get his foot in the door at Marvel, and he wanted to do the story based in Harlem with a bunch of the lower level characters, well, the street characters, and he thought, his thought was to do it in a period piece, like the Harlem Renaissance time and period, and I was like, wow, that sounds kind of dope. Who would you put in there? And he said, I don't know, and he wanted to kind of see what my thoughts were on that. So we started talking and collaborating with David, and we were about to pitch this thing to Marvel, right? Not Bitter Root per se, but just that time period.
Right. The idea, pretty much the idea, the basis of it, you would say.
Well, the time period, not the basis, just the time period, and but using Marvel characters.
Oh, okay.
But the more I thought about it, the more I was like, I don't know if this is where Marvel wants to go at this time. We need to just figure out something for ourselves. So long story short, we had kind of 2 ideas. One that would go to Marvel, And then we started developing one for ourselves. And the more we started developing one for ourselves, the more interested I became in that. And I'm like, man, let me just do some sketches. And I never really do a whole lot of sketching based on kind of hearsay ideas. It needs to be something that I know for sure is going to turn into something for me to really start working out ideas. But this thing, for some reason, it really got me super invested. So long story short, I just had a bunch of sketches based off of these ideas of these characters. I showed them to Chuck, and I showed them to David, and we were like, dude, this is something we need to start to maybe tap into a little more, especially with the fact that it was the aesthetics that I brought, the basic idea that we had. We started thinking, is there anything out there that kind of plays around with black characters and fantasy in the Harlem Renaissance time period? And we kind of started digging around. We couldn't find anything. And I'm like, you know what, guys? I think this might be something we need to do for ourselves. We need to really push this and build this thing and go for it. So long story short with that, that's what we did. And it eventually evolved into a family that basically was a family that had a legacy of protecting humanity, but specifically for this story, they just happened to be in Harlem during that time period. And it was just one of those things where it was like lightning in a bottle, where it was perfect timing because we're heading out, finishing off our project at Marvel. Black Panther was starting to really bubble and buzz, the movie. Everyone was excited about that, and we started hearing just different responses in terms of like more and more diversity, more and more original, characters, and we were like, you know what, we got something we think could go somewhere. So we pitched it to Eric Stevenson over at Image. He immediately said yes, and we were off to the race. Started putting stuff together. We still didn't really have a complete idea in terms of like where this story is going. We just had kind of the world and characters. So we started to build on that, and we started to play around with the concept of their legacy being somewhat of a burden, because it's kind of like with great power comes great responsibility, that kind of mindset. And so we thought that would be a really cool backstory, like how did this family come to this responsibility, and what is the consequences of this responsibility? All these kind of questions we needed to ask ourselves to build these characters, to build this world and the story. So, without kind of boring you anymore with all the details, we had ideas for backstories as far as like the matriarch of the family, how when she was a little girl, she was part of the Underground Railroad. I mean, we started tying in history, like real history.
That was one of the key things that I dug about it also, because like on top of the, like you said, there was nothing dealing with like that fantasy, like supernatural type, and within that time frame. And I like the fact that you guys are because you're showing history as well. Someone can look at that and learn about what was going on during that time frame, and basically learn from it, as well as be entertained by a dope story and dope artwork. It's to the point to where I could see like I could see that on screen with like a dope soundtrack.
Brother, you know what I mean? I'm way ahead of you on that one, man. I think that was the other thing, and we tried. Most artists will tell you that they don't think about turning their ideas into. They don't write for the next level. Like, I'm not doing a comic so I can get a movie made or a TV show or whatever. I want to do a comic to do a comic to tell a story. Most artists will say that, but deep down inside, everyone wants to see their ideas materialize into something. So when we started, honestly, I saw that before I saw the comic. You know, the ideas. We started developing it. I started seeing this thing being more than just a comic, and that made me even more excited. But it also made me that much more conscious to make sure that the comic really is good, because I don't want it to be a thing where what I do, it's kind of like someone who does, tying it back into to hip hop, it's like someone who is really dope lyrically, and he does a really dope album, and it kind of gets washed over, or he does an album that gets a lot of attention from a commercial standpoint, where you're like, yeah, well, what about the lyrics? You know, you want people to notice those things, and they're looking at all the shiny stuff instead of the substance. So, you know, we wanted to make sure that we're not just putting out something to put out this other thing, but we want the substance from the foundation of it as well.
Right.
So,
and that makes for, like you said, it makes for a great. That's the reason I can see that on film, or you know, I can see that come to life. I just was like picturing it in my head, like I could see an all-star cast, like it all just comes together. So you guys are about what? Not the last one I remember was 5.
We're 5 in. As a matter of fact, as of today, the collection dropped today. So I don't know when this is gonna be posted, but it'll be in stores everywhere starting today, and digital, you know, all platforms, all over. And so we have that today, that dropping today, and then July 15th we have the annual. If you remember back in the days, Marvel, what made Marvel so dope, but the DC did it too, but you were more excited about the annuals that came out at Marvel because you got this, like, these extra stories, you know, and that's kind of what we wanted to kind of use that same opportunity to give more story, more art. So that drops July 15th. It's featuring 6 stories that feature each of the main family members, and each story is drawn by some tremendous artists, and including, you know, myself. I'm doing one of the stories. Backstory. My story is based on the matriarch of the family, Miss Etta, when she was a younger girl during the Great Migration, and how you get a glimpse of how she became what she is now. So we're excited to have, you know, shortly that. Thanks, man. And then shortly after that, we'll be launching the second story arc, the main story, and this annual is kind of a bridge between the first volume and the next arc.
Oh, okay, it's kind of so you would say that it ties them together, or like kind of eases into the next story.
Yep.
That's dope. I can't wait for that. And that's, well, the annual, you said it was what, the 15th? That's 3 days before my birthday. So yeah, it's a dope birthday present right there.
There you go.
So who do you have in rotation these days? I know we talk about some, you know, we mentioned some MCs during this podcast, but who do you have, like, and like, are you listening to any of the current, you know, artists?
I'm still, you know, thanks to our buddy Eclipse, DJ Eclipse, he's keeping me pretty current. I listen to his show every week. It's on the Shade 45 Sirius.
Rappers Out of Control. Yep.
Rappers Out of Control. So that's how I keep up with most current artists. I don't know a lot of them, but there's one. This guy, well, it's kind of a collective of artists. The Griselda group, it's still.
Yes, yeah, Griselda Records.
Yeah,
you're talking about Westside Gun, Conway, Benny.
There's another guy named 38 Special.
Yeah, 38 Special, yeah.
So, so those guys are the ones that kind of, they stand out to me because they're kind of keeping it in that vein. They're a nice bridge between what we appreciate in the lyrics and the beats, but they care, but they still have that look that's current, and they're younger cats that that can reach that young audience, if you will. So they're a nice bridge. So I keep those guys in rotation. Now, of course, I gotta listen to my classics, man. I gotta detox on that stuff.
Yeah, for sure, right? So I mean, I know you listen to the new Pete Rock joint, and I know you did the album art for that. So how did that come about? Because like I seen some of your Instagram posts where you were sketching and drawing, and you played, it was playing in the background and stuff like that. So so how there it is. There, oh my goodness. It's crazy because everywhere I go I can't find it. but
because I got all the rest of them.
Wow. But that's dope. So yeah, how did that come about?
Honestly, I've known Pete for a few years, about 5-6 years. We met at a concert here in town, and what's funny was when the hip hop Marvel covers came about. I was asked would I be interested in doing a cover.
Oh, I remember you did Mecca and the Soul Brother.
Yep, did Mecca and the Soul Brother, and I'm like, absolutely. I'm more of a main ingredient guy, but I know why that cover is more iconic, right? Or has more value behind it. But in terms of the album, Main Ingredient was my album. So I did that cover, and of course Pete, he got the image and retweeted it and reached out to me and said, "Oh, this is really dope. Appreciate it." Long story. And I said, "Hey, we met a few years back, like 2 years prior, at a show," and he remembered the show. And we just started to connect from that point. And we tried to do something a while ago, about 3 years ago. It was his previous instrumental album. Just didn't work out for various reasons. And, but we stayed in contact, and he reached out again and said, "Hey, man, I got another thing. Let's see if we can make this one happen." And it started to come together, man. It's pretty awesome, working with, one of my top 5.
It's great. It's crazy. It's crazy because when I was talking to Eclipse, he was telling the story about how there was a time where Pete and Primo, they were planning on doing a joint album or something like that, where they were, or like a versus type album, and Eclipse gave them both the idea, like, "Yo, y'all should, reach out to my man Sanford to do the cover and stuff like that, but like it never came to be or something like that. And then Eclipse was like, fast forward down the line, now you know Pete is he tapped you to do the cover and everything for Return to SP12. So it's crazy like how it just comes.
So
like
was Eclipse trying to take credit for this or something? No, I'm just
He low key might have. I don't know. He low key might have. But yeah, he was explaining that. Because he been just like me, just like you. We've been on that wave of hip hop and Marvel being one and the same. So
right.
It was like it's only right. You know what I mean? I think his idea was to the effect of like you should recreate like a iconic hip hop. Marvel cover, and have them on it as the character, kind of in reverse of what the variants did, pretty much.
Right.
Yeah. So, but yeah, that was his take on it. That was his idea. But I thought it was pretty dope.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just glad it all worked out. For sure, it's putting me in some very interesting places now. I've been reached out to by, can't really say the names yet, but I've been reached out to by some pretty big name people because I think somewhere along the line they saw that work that I did with Pete. So we'll see. We'll see where it goes.
Wow, and that's all a part of that's all a part of it. I'm just, and the same over here. I'm just trying to get in tune with. See, the thing is with this platform, I'm able to talk to all walks of life. I don't just stick to just one. Like I don't just interview just illustrators. I don't just interview MCs or producers or DJs and stuff like that. I have a mesh of people from all walks of life that enjoy hip hop and Marvel. So, and that's what I'm trying to push for. So with each episode, I know it will only get better and better to the point to where people are taking notice and like, wait, what is this? So
yeah, that's dope.
I mean, it's kind of to the same degree, and I can imagine folks reaching out like after seeing it, because that work is so dope. It's so hip hop, and I'm thankful that we have artists and DJs that are like that still would rather reach out to an illustrator, to an artist, to do their covers and keep it artsy. I'm thankful we still have people like that.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, I'm every day I kind of just, I'm like yourself. I just kind of, am very amazed, humble, whatever you want to call it, by how much this really is work. It's like what. What I mean? It's like Pete Rock, just using that as an example. It was, he, trying to make sure I say this the right way. I mean, he's not the biggest producer out there right now, but he's Pete Rock, and when he does do something, it resonates enough to where it starts to blossom into all these other things that you just never would have thought of. Like, whoa, I never thought about this direction or in this space or whatever. And because of him, it materializes into these other things. So I was just going to say that's part of what makes, again, that kind of goes to the point I just made. It's like, this is a conversation that probably would have never really happened if it wasn't for all these other pieces that we've both been a part of. Like like the person you just with the clips, you just interviewed him. I'm connected to him. Now you're connected to him. Now it's like it's that really cool organic types of development that makes this stuff go in some really awesome places.
Right, exactly. And like eventually, we're gonna, I know, let's do hangouts or whatever. Eventually we're gonna get to the point to where we get to chop it up at one of these conventions, or you know what I mean. I'm next state over, cause he told me, Eclipse told me that you're from SC, from South Carolina, and I was telling him what part again?
I live in Columbia right now.
Columbia.
Yeah, I'm from Charleston.
Okay, yeah. My family. See, it's crazy the way my parents' family, my dad's family is from North Carolina, and my mom's is from South Carolina, and they're from King Street. Mm-hmm.
Dude, that's my neck of the woods, man.
Really?
Yeah, you look like you're from that area, man.
Yep.
That's not I'm just saying.
Yeah. That's my my roots right there. King Street, South Carolina, because it's like it's what, like 75 miles from Charleston, I think. Say.
Give or take. Yeah, give or take.
Yeah. So yeah.
I used to think those places were so far apart, but they're really maybe if it's 75 miles, then that sounds about right.
Right. And that's another reason why, like, I dig what like cats like Charlemagne is doing too, because he's from SC. You know what I mean? And he's a Cancer just like myself. You know what I mean? You know what I mean? So, like, yeah.
That means you got opinions too, huh?
Yeah, I mean, I'm for the most part, especially and especially dealing with hip hop. Everybody has an opinion. I try to be fair. Like, I try not to be the bitter old school, like that doesn't give the new school a chance. But at the same time, I will call it out if it's whack. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Right. So
I try to be that way too. A lot of my, there's a few other comic guys that are really into this, and they're into the hip hop stuff, and we would get into arguments all the time. They always call me the old curmudgeon, if you will. I'm like, dude, I just gotta respect the craft, man. It's like, I'm not talking about whether someone uses a
sample or it's not necessarily that. It's more so we got to preserve what we got. We got something special here, And
if we fight for it, it will go away. I mean, Snoop said it best, which was he was on point, but it was a very sad statement. He said, it's our fault. It's that generation right before Lil Wayne. It's like, and I only use Lil Wayne because a lot of people say he's kind of the birth of all that stuff. I'm not saying like lyrically he had it, but I think he started the transition. And when he transitioned, there was no one there really checking him, right? So, hey, man, go back to what you were doing. That was dope. He just kept evolving into what he became. That younger generation came up and saw that version of Lil Wayne. You see what I'm saying?
Right.
And
yeah, exactly.
That was just it. It was like, okay, now your Futures and your Lil this and Young that and all these dudes, that was their blueprint, right? So, and unfortunately, the guys like the Mobb Deeps and the Wu-Tangs and stuff like that, they were so big that they didn't really turn back around and go, wait a minute, let's pull these guys along here. They just kind of kept doing what they were doing, whereas, and I guess to some degree it's always been like that, if that makes sense, except for that one era. You can tell me if I'm off base or not. I think the one time period where you felt like the versions of, I don't know, maybe not, like the '88 era. It's about '94 to '96, somewhere right in there. That era seemed as those guys were. It was a big jump, right? But it still felt like they were more unified. Like, and this is only because I kind of watched a lot of the documentaries and stuff. But the era before '88, those cats that came along during that time, everything before that was like the '88 cats really crapped on them dudes, man. The shiny, crazy looking leather pants wearing Melly Mel, right? They crapped on them dudes. This man's corny beats and whatever. And of course, those guys weren't going to show them love because they are basically taking their spots. You fast forward, honestly, the same thing is happening to some degree.
Yeah, I mean it is. It's like it's a continuous cycle.
Yeah.
And it just we have to come to a commonality and find some common ground. I think the key to that is balance. There was a time on the radio I can listen to. I mean, because even back in the day, there were whack rappers. There were songs that were dancey. There were songs that didn't contain that raw level of hip hop, but they still work. I can turn on the radio and listen to one artist on a party track, on a party record, and then the same station hear something more thought-provoking. So, but right now it's just everything is the same subject matter over and over and over, to the point to where it kind of made thought-provoking lyrics, bars, or whatever have you obsolete. And now you have to search elsewhere. It's not to say that it is obsolete. It just means that you have to search even harder to find it. When in that case before, you didn't have to search as hard because they played it right along the mainstream poppy sound and stuff.
I don't think I rarely listen to the radio, so I don't even know what's really popular right now. I got an idea, but in terms of like song or whatever, I don't really know them because I got the internet. I can go to the internet, and I think in the last couple of years, artists like De La Soul and these guys, guys in that wheelhouse, like I follow these guys on social media, and they feel, because I follow them, they feel just as relevant now as they did back then. Right? Like MC Light, I follow her. She is doing amazing stuff. I follow Big Daddy Kane. He looks like he just started. He looks
right.
Like
right.
Social presence online. It kind of goes back to what you said on the earlier part of the podcast. It's like, they're staying relevant. It's like let me. And now they have these tours and stuff. So it's like, all right, I'm going to go check them out. I feel like they're not somewhere, they had disappeared somewhere in the middle of the night. They're in some ways front and center.
Right. Yeah, remaining relevant. You're right. You're 100% right. Yeah, so it just, like I said, I think that's just one of the things missing. I think that's one of the gems that will go into my gauntlet. My gauntlet. It would be balance. But yeah, I like some of you guys' answers. Entrepreneurship. That's a great answer. And him, and Mike saying comics. That's awesome as well. So, but are there any other things you got lined up that you want folks to know?
Well, Bitterroot, of course, is kind of like front and center right now, and there's a few other small projects I'm working on right now, possibly with Marvel. Nothing major, but still something fun. I like to dip my toe back into that every once in a while. It's kind of like, again, it's like off doing this thing, but hey, put me on as a guest spot on a track, and let me just rip it. And let me lead with no consequences, no repercussions or whatever. Let me just do it and dip out. And I think that's pretty much the opportunity that I think I have coming up with Marvel. So we'll see.
That'll be what's up. I'm looking forward to that. Where can folks, check out your work? Where can they reach you? Your social media.
Twitter, Instagram, Facebook at Sanford Greene, and I'll be posting more. I got some pretty cool things happening again with Bitterroot. Got some exclusive stuff that will be coming out based on Bitterroot real soon. Some original art, stuff like that. You'll see me posting a lot of that on social media, all platforms.
Okay, yeah. The DJ in me may have to. I might have to do a Bitterroot mix or something, like tribute mix, man. Try to, you know what I'm saying.
Hey, I'm taking all comers. Actually, a quick little sidebar. I'm sure you wouldn't mind me putting this out there, but are you familiar with producer Black Milk?
Oh yeah, for sure. What, Detroit stand up? Yeah.
He's one of them guys that just this era, gives me hope, because he's so ridiculous and he's very much in the now. He did a original track for, I should say he let me use one of his original tracks as music for an animated short. That's another thing that I have in the animation studio called Secret Sauce, and we do a lot of projects, but we had the opportunity to do one of my original concepts called 1000. We did an animated short, 2.5 minutes, and he did the closing track, the credits scene, and pretty dope, man. I can shoot you the link to that.
Oh yeah, definitely. I would love to check that out. We're actually going to be starting to add a little segment at the end of each podcast called the Fantastic Four, and we just choose 4, hip hop joints to throw in at the end. People may or may not have heard of. I thought that was a little dope little thing to add at the end of each one. But yeah, I'm all, that's how I got my that's how I made a name for myself in the mixtape game too. Coming up in the ranks with that. A lot of my mixtapes were like pop culture referenced or like superhero reference and stuff like that. And it's crazy because it's like I was always promoting people's projects that I thought was were dope by putting a spin on it and like just doing like a mix. It was kind of like what people do on Spotify and stuff like that with creating playlists, but I was doing it in mixtape form. I remember when Fast 5 came out, the Fast and Furious. So I had the concept of, doing a mix with fast rappers, rappers who rap fast. So I had like Luda and Tech Nine and Busta Rhymes and Twista, and you know what I mean. And the cover was like made to look like the Fast and Furious, movie poster and everything else. But just like different concepts. I had a concept that I did called Iron Sharpens Iron, where it was, I reached out to some producers and they redid some of like Ray and Ghost tracks. I called it Iron Sharpens Iron because I had, on the cover, it was, of course, Ghostface as Iron Man, and I had Raekwon as Rhodey because, those two are together. You know what I mean? Like, so, and I called the series Iron Sharpens Iron. So, like, it was like I was very, like, in tune with, like, and then, of course, when the Boondocks happened, that was like, I was like, oh, I got to get behind this, so.
Yeah, the Boondocks is another part of pop culture that made me go, man, I gotta do something, because so much of those ideas I had, not the Boondocks per se, but just the attitude that they brought with it, doing animation with this hip hop urban vibe to it. I'm like, dang, man, I had ideas, like DJ Premier doing the intro track for a Saturday morning cartoon. In my head, thinking about this stuff, years, but now just to see the opportunities, it's pretty awesome. It's coming, like I said, it's me in those spaces now, doing the Pete joint, doing the hip hop variant covers, so on and so forth. Now it's like, okay, now that these connections, having Black Milk do, you see what I'm saying? It's
it's opening up different avenues. Yeah, and like I said, that's what I'm hoping to do with with this as well too. So, but I appreciate chopping it up with you, man. I appreciate you taking the time out of your busy day. I see you. I figure you had got an early start on I said he's probably, I was talking to my engineer, I said he's probably drawing and stuff like that, so I was like, I definitely appreciate you taking the time out to chop it up with us. The next time we chop it up, we can still talk just as long because hip hop is so much to talk about.
There's a lot to talk about, man.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying? Comics and Marvel there's so much to talk about. I didn't even get to pick your brain on the end game, like what you thought about that and stuff like that.
You may have to do a separate podcast for that.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to get. Yeah, I mean, but like I said, this isn't the last. I'm trying to work my way through the ranks, and I'm trying to get different, have different guests on.
Right.
Like I said, from all walks or whatever. It's you want to know a crazy story though? Okay, so I'm located. I'm in Durham, North Carolina. So
I don't know why I thought you were in New York right now.
No, I'm down here in the South. I'm next state over from you.
Some of the heroes, man.
Yeah, that's why I'm gonna try to. That's what I'm trying to get out there. Like I said, I'm slowly but surely growing. I was able to get, what was it, 2 years ago? That's when I met him. I had actually met him at the Raleigh Comic Convention they had 2 years ago, and he had a panel there. He did it was a Black Heroes Matter panel, and he spoke on that. I think it was him, Afua Richardson, and a couple other folks. And afterwards, I met him, and I had set up an interview for the following day, but somehow there was like scheduling conflicts, and yeah, so I wasn't able to interview him. But I met him. I actually had threw the picture up of me and him from meeting him 2 years ago. I threw it up on the Hip Hop Marvel's Instagram. So if you go there, you can see it. But yeah, Paris Smith. He said that was the first person he told me to reach out to. So eventually, I'm want to reel him in. And I'm just trying to I'm keeping a list of people who are on that radar. you know, who embrace both hip hop and Marvel. You know what I'm saying?
That'll be dope, man. Yeah, so. He's perfect. And I'll keep an eye out for folks. Yeah. I mean, that, you know, the circles are very close. You know, you would know a lot of the same.
Right, exactly. But I appreciate you chopping it up, man. And we gonna do this again.
All right, we'll talk soon. Peace.